Sorry, I'm not home right now. Walking in the spider webs. Oh, likely story. Leave a message and I'll call you back. Leave a message. All right.
Doobie-doobie-doo. 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 I'm your host, sabrinasalvati. Doobie-doobie-doo. 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 I'm your host, sabrinasalvati. Doobie-doobie-doo. 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 I'm your host, sabrinasalvati.
All right. Welcome to Sabby Sabs podcast. Happy Thursday, guys. I'm your host, Sabrina Salvati. You can find me on Revolutionary Blackout Network on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and you can find me here on this show Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Sunday. Actually, you find me on RBN Thursdays and Fridays. Sorry about that. Whoopsie. Okay, guys, welcome to the show. We have a lot to discuss tonight. I have 5 stories tonight because I am not going to be live tomorrow. Sorry, but I do have an appointment. So I'm taking tomorrow off. So I'm not streaming anywhere tomorrow, actually. So that's why we have more stories tonight. I want to go ahead and get started by giving people shout outs in the chat. We'll do patrons and then we'll get started with the news stories. Shout out to Miguel, says peace. Let's give it up for Sean Ahern for becoming a Sabby member. Give him a big whoop, whoop. What's up, Sean? There are 3 different ways to spell Sean, by the way. This is the S-E-A-N way. There's also S-H-A-U-N, and there's also S-H-A-W-N. Interesting name. Shout out to Chip, sends peace. Greetings, ACAB, says patiently waiting for this to start. What's going on? Sam also says peace. What's going on, Negro? Jayapal had a chance to force the vote or push the Medicare for All bill with a dim Senate and House. This is nothing more than a dangling carrot to motivate people to vote blue in 24. We're going to get into that tonight. You're very perceptive there, Negro. Shout out to Rollins. Oh, yay. Another M4ALL stunt. If it passes, it'll die in the Senate. Of course. Greetings, Dabby Dab says, regarding the poll, everyone voting yay or nay for this already has socialized health care, paid for by the rest of us. I'd be very surprised if it gets more than 3 votes. Shout out to Hannah, says that bill won't pass. Greetings, Serena. Greetings, comrades. It doesn't matter if it passes in the House because it's dead on arrival in the Senate. Shout out to Steve, says, I have Sabby on one monitor and do Dissidents on another. I don't know how you guys do that. I don't know how you watch 2 shows at the same time, but interesting. What's going on, Sean? Oh, that's Sean again. Oh, that's a different Sean. Sean says, you're. Shout out to Lorez, says, sup, Sabrina, Eric, and Sabby fam. Smash the like. It won't pass, but it will be interesting to see who votes what. Greetings, Lawrence, who's a Sabby member, says doobie doobie door 2024. Shout out to Eric T. Red, who's a Sabby member, says 1, 2, 3, action. Greetings, old man, says Jim Door. Shout out to Anthony, sends a smile. Greetings, old man Barker. Buddies. Shout out to Angela, who's a Sabby member, says smash the like button, share the stream, and happy Thursday to all you lovely people. What's going on? Robert says, no doubt, no doubt. That's right. I was singing No Doubt earlier. Shout out to Joe, says every presidential election cycle, the progressives will bring up Medicare for all and other issues that bring attention to the voters that they know they will never fight for. What's going on? Tori says, hell no. They only doing this because it's election season. F all of them. Well. Greetings, Robert says Jayapal is a BS artist. What's going on? Matt says, hey, all you rad fam. Greetings, Fizzy says, happy days are here again. Shout out to Joel says, greetings, Sabby in chat. What's going on, Jay? Happy Friday Eve, everyone. Greetings, G says, thoughts on RFK on breaking points. I think everything's already been said. That's why I'm not covering this, because I feel like everybody has already covered it. But I don't think there's anything that I would say now that hasn't already been said. It would just be a repeat. Shout out to Raul says, whoop, whoop. Greetings, Sebastian says, hey. Shout out to Robert says, Jayapal is the female version of Rokana. I could see that. And shout out to the other Sean says, that's me, LOL. That's right. That's the another way to spell Sean. And shout out to Leroy, who's a Sabby member, says, good day, comrades. Pramila is a clown who only brought this up because they can blame it failing on Republicans. Oh, Leroy, you know them too well. Too well. What's going on? Mark says also, oh, Sean, CIAN. Didn't know about that one. Interesting. What's going on? Brent says random poll, but then again, I don't follow all things Pramila. And shout out to Desert Mantis says, I voted no. Face red, droopy eyes. Oh, that's the emoji. Yeah. StreamYard doesn't pick up all the emojis for some reason. Anywho, let's go ahead and jump right in. I want to give a quick shout out to everyone who is a Sabby patron. Thank you guys so much for your support. I really do appreciate it. It does go a long way around here. Thank you guys who are Sabby patrons. If you're interested in being a patron, I have 5 categories: Ultimate, Sabinators, Sabsters. Don't forget about those Sabbies. There's a lot of them. It's like Avengers Assemble. And of course, the members. Shout out to all of you guys. You can also see their names scrolling across the bottom of the screen there on the ticker. And I do want to give a special shout out to a new Sabby patron. Over here, we call them newbies. Let's give it up for Doro Reeves. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, let's go ahead and get into it, guys. Again, we got 5 stories tonight. We got a lot to talk about. So let's go ahead and share that beautiful thumbnail there. It's actually not that beautiful per se. It's just I have a template and I roll with it. Nothing fancy over here. All right. Tonight, we are discussing Donald Trump clap back. And you can see there's Rachel Maddow behind him there. You can probably guess what that is about. We're also going to discuss Ukraine shock. You may not have heard this story. Shout out to Norm Finkelstein. He actually sent me this article. And I think he is right. I think I do need to report on this. So you might be surprised what you hear in reference to that story. I hope more people talk about it. I'm also going to discuss Pramila Jayapal Medicare for All push. That is big news right now. We're going to get into what that is all about, as well as the optics. Is this legit? Is it theater? We'll get into all of that. I'm also going to discuss Imran Khan blocked. This guy is not having a good week. Jesus, if you have not heard of Imran Khan, you were going to find out all about him tonight. And last but not least, this is the wrong thumbnail. Shoot. Oh, well. Anyway, it says, it's supposed to say MA resigns, Massachusetts resigns, but I put up the wrong one. Anywho, Rachael Rollins resigns. That is a big story coming out of Massachusetts. I think you're definitely going to want to stay tuned for that. There's a lot to say around that. So let's go ahead and get started with our first story. We're going to get into this story about Imran Khan. Now, I don't know if all of you are familiar with him. I was not familiar with him until this week, and I've been seeing a lot about him recently. He is the former prime minister of Pakistan, and apparently he is considering running again, and that is not sitting well with the police state of Pakistan. They have gone so far to surround his house. This man is not having a good week. He actually shared this himself from his Twitter account. Reportedly, scenes from outside my house while I was addressing the nation. You got to see it to believe it, folks. It looks like something out of a movie. Like at first when I saw this, I was like, is this Independence Day? Like, what is this? Is this a scene from a movie? These are all the police. They're coming to surround his house. Not having a good week. They have a police bus. Crazy. Yeah. Like that was some crazy stuff. Like, and it makes you wonder, what did he do? And that's what we're going to get into, because Imran Khan apparently is a popular politician. Apparently people really like him. So you're probably wondering, if so many people in Pakistan like him, then why is the police state after him? And why is it that they don't want him to run for re-election again? Well, recently, Imran Khan actually sat down for an interview while all this was happening outside his house. He actually did have time to give an interview. And I want to get into that because I want you to hear both sides of the story. Because right now, obviously, the police are giving their version. They believe that Imran Khan was basically hiding violent protesters at his home. But what does he have to say about that? Let's get into it.
Pakistan's opposition leader Imran Khan's house in Lahore remains surrounded by police. The 70-year-old veteran politician said earlier that police were preparing to detain him again. Khan was arrested last week in connection with a corruption case. On Thursday, Pakistan's Supreme Court ruled that arrest was illegal. Well, joining us now from Lahore is Imran Khan, former Prime Minister of Pakistan. Mr. Khan, welcome to the program. Could you give us, first of all, an update of your situation? Are you still anticipating arrest at this time?
Well, my house is surrounded by the police. Basically, they've cut my house off from the main roads, and there was a police statement that there were 40 terrorists hiding in my house, so they were going to come and search for these terrorists. So I've invited everyone, the media and everyone, to come and look for these terrorists which are supposed to be hiding in my house. I believe it's just a pretext for them to again conduct a raid and pick me up.
So you say that those people that they suggest are involved in the violence of last week are not at your property?
What they're saying is that once I was abducted, and I use the word abducted, confirmed by the Supreme Court, unlawfully picked up from within the precincts of the Islamabad High Court, there was a reaction in the public. We believe that any independent investigation will show that the people who came out for me were peaceful protesters, as they have been for 27 years.
Let me interrupt here for just a second. So let's backtrack a little bit. He was arrested. Apparently, the arrest was illegal. Now, they say they arrested him based on like corruption, etc. But apparently that arrest was illegal. So they had to release him. Now, when he was arrested, people protested. So he's saying that the people that protested against his arrest were peaceful protesters. And of course, the police are saying different. They're saying that you started and caused these violent protests. So you're to blame for it. And we believe that you're actually hiding some of those violent protesters. But who does he think those protesters are actually aligned with? Not the peaceful ones, but the violent ones. You got to hear this to believe it yourself.
There were some people we believe were inserted in there which created arson. And that's what has given them the reason to crack down on us. 7,500 of our people are in jail today. All my top leadership is in jail.
So
They
you
come
say,
out in one
you
case,
say,
they're grabbed-
sir, you say that your supporters are not responsible in any way for the violence. And in fact, it was other elements who do not belong to the party, who do not support you, that caused the damage and violence instead. Is that what you're saying?
In other words, there was infiltration. There was infiltration. This happened during the BLM protest. You guys remember this? There were some people that were protesting like peacefully, but then there were also some protesters that were being violent. And then later on, it was explained that those people actually were not a part of the BLM protest groups. Those were people that came out there to make it look like the BLM protesters were being violent and were bad. Similar situation here. So he's saying that yes, there were protesters out there that were violent, but those were not the people that were on my side. They were not a part of my party, my political party. Those people were actually part of the police state, and they infiltrated the protest to make it seem like the protesters out there for him were being violent. This happens, people. That's right, Simone. Provocateurs. It happens. We've seen it happen. Those of you that are activists and you've been involved in protests, you know this happens almost every time, especially if it's a huge protest. There's always infiltration in some way, shape, or form.
What I'm saying, Nick, this was deliberate. And you have to know the background. The audience must know why. The reason is that the rating of my political party is 70% today. 70% compared to all the other parties, which are 13, 10% and so on. And so this is the election year. And all the parties plus the establishment wants me to be removed from the electoral field.
Does this sound familiar? Going to such lengths to prevent someone from running for office again? Does that sound familiar? Doesn't that sound similar to what the Democratic Party is trying to do to Donald Trump right now? Granted, they didn't have, the whole police state come out to his house. But do you see the comparison? You don't have to agree with Imran Khan's policies. You don't have to agree with Trump's policies. But again, this appears to be politically motivated.
And to do that, there have been 150 cases already on me. They've been trying to put me in prison before.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying, but I just want to get to the bottom of this: the fact that hundreds of police officers were injured and officials were seriously injured, and you're seriously suggesting that they were injured by their own side.
No, what I'm saying is that for 27 years we have been holding protests over, like any political party does. When I was shot, and I named one of the military intelligence officers one of the three suspects. Why were there no burning and arson or anything? There were protests, but there were peaceful protests, but there was nothing like what happened now. What happened right now was that this was a deliberate, the arson I'm talking about, the arson was committed deliberately. 25 people died in this. 700 people got bullet wounds, all of our supporters. And if there's any independent inquiry, you will find that there were peaceful protesters. And the arson was done. Already the evidence is coming out. In social media days, you can't hide it.
All right, well,
They're
let's see,
out evidence
as and when and if there's an investigation, and see what...
Isn't it interesting? This guy is like 70 years old. And you know what he told you? He said they've been protesting for years.
The reality was. But do you not feel that by calling your supporters out to protest, you are effectively inciting violence?
Okay, listen to the way he just framed that question. So Imran just basically explained to him that his protesters were peaceful. They were not violent. The commentator is like, yeah, I hear all that. But by you telling people to protest, aren't you indeed inciting violence? He just told you his protesters were peaceful. So you see the framing, how some of these commentators will link the word protesting to violence. They'll automatically see that as a violent thing instead of it being a peaceful thing. That's exactly what this commentator is doing right now. Pay close attention to that. Calling on people to protest doesn't mean that you're calling on violence. You can protest peacefully. But you have a lot of these pundits in the media now where they just automatically link the two, and they see protests and they think that is violent.
Look, Nick, I mean, which democracy does not allow people to protest peacefully when they think they've been wronged? Name me a democracy. When I'm picked up unlawfully, I was on bail, they could not pick me up. They grabbed me, not just grabbed me, but they beat up people. People got injured. They took me like an ordinary terrorist. What did you think? Would there not be a reaction? Would there not be peaceful protest on that? There were always going to be protests. But what I'm saying is that the arson was not us. And I can again say that whenever there's independent investigation, it will be proved that it wasn't us.
Let me tell you something that happened during the George Floyd protest. And someone captured this in Fayetteville, North Carolina. They were taking pictures of downtown Fayetteville. So it's like more of a historic site. And they noticed that all of a sudden there were a pile of bricks outside of like the retail stores that wasn't there before. There was no construction being done. It was almost as if, and the protests obviously were scheduled for the next day, right? So it's almost as if somebody was encouraging people to pick up those bricks and throw them, right? These types of things. So this incident here with the arson is just almost like, it's almost like it was planted. It was planted. This was deliberate. As he says, it was meant to happen. It was on purpose to make those protesters look bad.
You, of course, were given bail by the Supreme Court. Do you not then have faith in Pakistan's judicial system?
The only thing that is holding together Pakistan's democracy is our judicial system. This is the only thing. Otherwise, what is happening now is people come out, get bail from one case, immediately there's police which grabs them and takes them in for some other case. How can 7,500 people be in jail? How can all the top leadership be in jail? At least they must prove there must be some evidence that they were involved in some wrongdoing. All my people have always been told to protest peacefully. And I have all the statements. From 27 years, I've always said, stay between the Constitution and the law. Do not indulge in any violence. And our party is known for that. So how come suddenly they started burning down buildings? We have evidence that there were people planted inside who did that.
So his party is known for having peaceful protests. Now, all of a sudden, they're supposed to be violent. Yeah, that sounds fishy to me. Plus, he's also telling the commentator that he has evidence that proves that there were people planted inside. Now, this should not be something that's strange to the commentator. I told you before, things are infiltrated all the time, whether it's protests, whether it's organizing, whether it's any type of movement. Hell, Bernie Sanders had infiltrators in his campaign. So it's just, you can't. It's interesting to me the commentator finds this hard or difficult to believe, or maybe he doesn't believe it, but he's just being a corporate mouthpiece.
Where is the nation going to find resolution here? Two sides are so polarized, the country is divided. Where is resolution coming from?
Look, Nick, there is only one solution. This is an election year. The elections cannot be held beyond October. So 3 months before the elections, the government gets dissolved, so which is another 2.5 months. Now, that is the solution. But unfortunately, what is happening is that the government is running away from elections. There were supposed to be provincial assembly elections in 70% of Pakistan, according to the constitution, ruled by the Supreme Court. The government refused. So they've already violated the constitution because they're scared of losing the elections.
There you go.
Who, finally, Imran Khan, are you blaming? Is it the government or the army, the military? Who do you think is behind this?
Well, you know, of course, the 12-party coalition, which is in government, but they were brought in government by the ex-army chief. So the military means one man, army chief, because it's not a democratic institution. So basically what he decides goes. So what is happening right now clearly is that neither the military establishment, which means one man, nor these 12 parties, they're too scared for elections because they're scared I will win. So because of that, they're doing everything to make sure that I get out of the race. I've had 2 assassination attempts on me.
Isn't this crazy? Like, are you guys hearing this? Like, they're this afraid that this guy will win again, that they're willing to go through all this. 2 assassination attempts on his life. On his life. See, that's how you know you're a threat. That's how you know you're a threat to the establishment. When they come in and try to take you out like that. That's how you know. And this, I'm thinking back on this, and like, honestly, this is how I should have known early on that Barack Obama was not going to be any type of threat. Nobody tried to take him out. And not saying this should happen, but I'm saying nobody tried to take him out. Like, it just, the media loved him. That should have been the big red flag for me. Mainstream media loved Barack Obama. Now, of course, not Fox News, so to speak, because they're conservative, but CNN and MSNBC, they ate Obama up. They loved him. And that should have been a big red flag. This guy, however, they really trying to take this guy out. Anything so that he doesn't win again. And that's how you know this guy is seen as a threat.
One was where I was hit. One where I was lucky to be alive because just, I got saved, thank God. So this is the issue. 150 cases on me. Someone who has not had one criminal case in the last few months has 150 cases, including 15 criminal cases in a day, 40 terrorist cases. So, this is all to get me out of the race.
Actually, well, I'm going to throw one more question at you. In the past,
how do you get 15 cases in a day?
You have blamed the United States for inciting all of this. Do you still think that's the case?
Well, what we now subsequently discovered, well, let me give you the background. Our ambassador, Pakistan ambassador, when I was the prime minister in Washington, he had a meeting with a US official meeting, and the cipher, the secret message which came to me was that the US official said that unless you remove Imran Khan as your prime minister, there'll be consequences for Pakistan. But later on, we discovered that it didn't originate from there. Our ex-army chief had fed the Americans against me and called me anti-American. All this came out later on. So it was initiated from here. The Americans were told how I was anti-American, and then came the cipher.
Because, of course, the U.S. government would have some type of influence in this. Of course they would. So I want you to hold on to that piece because I do think that that's important. Again, this is another country taking the U.S. Lead. And that's not uncommon. We've seen this happen multiple times. Now, he's popular. And I want to show you how popular he is. So according to this, ex-Prime Minister Imran Khan is Pakistan's most popular politician. Most popular. They like this guy. Okay? This guy is not someone that's hated. A new survey reveals that former Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan is Pakistan's most popular politician by far. The results come at a crucial moment for Khan, who is pressing for elections and faces the threat of arrest just months after a failed assassination bid. They really came after this guy. The poll conducted by the authoritative Gallup Pakistan in the first 3 weeks of February finds that 61% of Pakistanis view Khan favorably, compared to just 36% respectively for his chief rivals, the former Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif and the current former foreign Prime Minister Bilawal Bhutto Zardari. So you just have to understand, it says Khan was removed from power last April in a vote of no confidence. Now, where have we seen this before? Vote of no confidence. We saw that with President Macron, right? He had that no confidence vote where he decided to increase the pension, increase the retirement age for a pension reform. So we see this again. He says was orchestrated by the then Army Chief, General Qamar. He also alleged the U.S. involvement in his removal. which he's termed a regime change operation. And what did I tell you? That's why I said, hold on to that piece about the United States. So here we go again, where the United States government had their hand in deciding who a political leader was going to be in another country. You think those police just showed up at his house out of nowhere? Nah. Nah. Now let's look at some of his political ideologies, because I know some of you are probably wondering, well, what does this guy believe? Now see if I make it a little bit bigger, because Wikipedia can be, and maybe not. Wikipedia is always a weird fit. Okay. Khan is generally described as a nationalist and a populist. Khan's proclaimed political platform and declarations include Islamic values, to which he rededicated himself in the 1990s. Liberal economics with the promise of deregulating the economy and creating a welfare state. Pay attention to this, guys. Decrease bureaucracy and the implementation of anti-corruption laws. No wonder they want him gone. You see this? Anti-corruption laws to create and ensure a clean government. Eric, do you hear that? Eric would love this. Eric, you hear this about this guy? Anti-corruption laws and ensure a clean government. The establishment of an independent judiciary, overhaul of the country's police system. See, this is why they're coming after him. Overhaul of the country's police system. So he wanted to change policing, and an anti-militant vision for a democratic Pakistan. You see this? Eric says, love me some anti-corruption. Exactly. You see this, guys? That's why they wanted him gone. How dare you? How dare you get rid of corruption? Are you trying to? No. Oh, you're trying to change the police system? Oh, no, this guy can't. No, we can't have this guy in. After the result of the 2018 Pakistani general election, Imran Khan said he would try to remake Pakistan based on the ideology of Muhammad Ali Jinnah. During his government, Khan addressed a balance of payment crisis with a bailout from the IMF. He presided over a shrinking current account deficit, a limited defense spending to curtail the fiscal deficit, leading to some general economic growth. He enacted policies which increased tax collection and investment, and reforms were made to the social safety net. His reforestation initiative and expanded protected areas and led the country during the pandemic. However, his failure to revive the economy and the rising inflation rate caused him political problems. Despite his promised anti-corruption campaign, the perception of corruption in Pakistan worsened during his rule. He was accused of political victimization of opponents and clamping down on freedom of expression and dissent. So this is interesting. Khan became the country's first prime minister to be ousted through a no confidence motion vote. That's what we were just talking about. Now, where does he stand on foreign relations? In foreign relations, he dealt with border skirmishes against India, strengthened relations with China and Russia. Bingo! Ding, 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 ding. Another reason the United States will want him removed, he strengthened relations with China and Russia. Didn't I tell you this was more than just those protests? A lot more than that. See, that's a no-no. The U.S. government does not like, oh no, this guy is trying to strengthen relationships with those two guys. Oh no, he got to go. We got to pull him out. Regime change. Just like that. They try to kill this guy twice. Let's go on. Now, I don't say everything. I don't agree with everything with him, but this is ridiculous. So let's go on. Khan said in an interview, I grew up hating India because I grew up in Lahore, and there were massacres of 1947. so much bloodshed and anger. But as I started touring India, I got such love and friendship there that all this disappeared. So he changed his view about how he felt about India. Now, there's another piece I want to highlight here. Khan publicly demanded a Pakistani apology towards the Bangladeshi people for the atrocities committed in 1971. I'm trying to remember when the United States government has demanded that, we give any type of apology to another country. Has any president that we have demand that the US government give an apology to people in Haiti? What about Yemen? Syria? Afghanistan? No? Interesting. Moving on. It says, there was the part here I wanted to bring up about Saudi Arabia. This piece. Okay. This I do not agree with. Khan visited the embassies of Iran and Saudi Arabia in Islamabad and met their head of commissions to understand their stances about the conflict that engulfed both nations after the execution of Sheikh Mir by Saudi Arabia. You guys remember this, right? He urged the government of Pakistan to play a positive role to resolve the matter between both countries. After Parliament passed a unanimous resolution keeping Pakistan out of the war in Yemen, Khan claimed that his party was responsible for many critical clauses of the resolution. In July 2018, the Saudi-based Islamic Development Bank activated its $4.5 billion oil financing facility for Pakistan. So there was one piece in here. You guys remember the reporter? I thought I had that one pulled up, but maybe I missed it. But the reporter that was killed in Saudi Arabia, the American reporter, remember that? While he didn't agree with it, I can't find it here now. That's weird. I should have made a marker. But one of the things he said is why he didn't agree with what was done. He still kind of was like, okay, it is what it is, because he considered Saudi Arabia to be an ally. I didn't agree with that. So I don't agree with him on everything. But if the US government is involved and they're trying to remove this guy, obviously there's a reason. There's a big reason here. And that's a problem. They see Imran Khan as a threat. So much that they would go through these lengths. Yes, Jamal Khashoggi, right. So that was one of the things where he was like, well, he didn't agree with it, but at the same time, it was like, but Saudi Arabia is an ally. So no, I didn't agree with his statement about that. But the thing is that I don't know. I believe that was the guy. I think that's the individual. I have to double check, but I think it was Jamal Khashoggi. Wasn't he the one that they said the Saudi prince killed? I have to check. Yeah, he was killed in Turkey. I thought they said, I could have the wrong guy. I forget. I'd have to look it up. Or Eric, if you have time, can you look it up and check who that was? I thought it was Jamal Khashoggi. Anyway, I didn't agree with his opinion about that. But anyway, the thing that you got to keep in mind is that the United States government sees this guy as a threat. They want him gone. So I don't think those police just acted on their own, if you know what I mean. But I'll keep following it. Follow him on Twitter. He's given updates. Let's see. If you go to his Twitter account, he's given like daily updates. Now, not all of the tweets are in English. And unfortunately, like Twitter doesn't let you translate. Yeah, Twitter does not let you translate them. Like on Facebook, I can hit like translate, or I thought it used to be an option to translate tweet, but now, okay, there it is. Yeah, so follow him follow him on Twitter because he's given like daily updates, or actually a couple of hours apart, about what's happening. So check that out. All right, I'll go to some of the comments and then I'll get the comments on Rockfin and then we'll go on to the next story. All right, Massachusetts will get a deep freeze sometime soon in May. What? Get your blankets back out of the closet. Oh, no. Oh, my God. No, I packed away the winter stuff. Trailer Park Pundit. What's up, Chandra? The police never represent the people ever. No, they don't. Shout out to my comrade JB, says hello, everyone. Thank you for the super chat. You name it. Can we start calling out the MW leaning commentators for slandering RFK supporters as dumb sheep who only care about his last name, MSM behaviors? Okay, I didn't hear anyone refer to RFK supporters as dumb sheep. I know people have criticized RFK Jr. about his stance on the jab, but I didn't hear anybody call people supporters dumb sheep. I don't know. Was that YouTube? If it was Twitter, like I'm not like I fucking hate Twitter. I'm not on Twitter that much. Christine, Sabby, you should talk to Tariq Ali, R.E. Imran Khan. Okay, I can reach out. Tariq Ali. Okay, I'll have to check that. And then I'll take that comment on Rockfin, Eric. All right. Thank you for the tip on Rockfin, Hemp Carr. Hemp Carr, when Julian Assange interviewed Khan was giving him much gratitude for exposing the incidentally most anti-American candidate in Pakistan, who was actually talking to the USA in cables, saying how he'll do anything they tell him if they help him win. That's interesting. I'll have to check that out. When I'm done with the stream, I'll go on Rockfin and I'll grab that link, but I'll have to check that out. Thank you, Eric. Eric found it. Told you. Imran Khan, Pakistan cannot afford to snub Saudis over Khashoggi killing. See, I told you when it came to this issue, like, again, like, although he didn't agree with what was done, he still said, like, we can't, like, just, though shocked by Khashoggi's killing, he said the Pakistani government needed urgent access to Saudi loans to avoid defaulting on record levels of debt within months. We are desperate at the moment. So you see what I mean? Yeah. But Khan did call on the U.S. to drop its sanctions against Iran, Saudi Arabia's bitter regional rival. So there's that as well. So, all right, let's go to our next story here. If you have not heard, yes, it seems like Trump has been vindicated in reference to Russiagate. And I know some of you are probably like, why is this still being talked about after all these years? Because new developments have been released, and that is the Durham report. So if you have not heard about this, I think you need to hear it, because I hate to say it, but remember, it was independent media that tried to tell you that Russiagate was not going anywhere, that it probably wasn't real. Aaron Mate reported on this extensively, but mainstream media pundits like Rachel Maddow and, of course, politicians like Adam Schiff continued to smear Trump. And you can have your criticisms for Trump, but they got it wrong when it came to Russiagate. And even to the point where now, even CNN had to come and acknowledge the Durham report. And Jake Tapper, of all people, here we go.
The years-long investigation is over, and John Durham, the special counsel investigating whether there was any misconduct by the FBI in the Trump-Russia investigation, just released his findings. For years, as you may recall, Donald Trump and his supporters pinned their hopes on the investigation by the former U.S. Attorney for Connecticut. John Durham, later named special counsel by Attorney General Bill Barr. Trump and his allies arguing that Durham would exonerate him and his 2016 campaign and associates from any hint of improper behavior regarding the Russian government's attempts to interfere in the 2016 election.
This report says that it would exonerate Donald Trump. You know, they are really trying to hand the election to Donald Trump 2024. Everything that's coming forward. So all this does is point back to when Trump said, this isn't true, this is a witch hunt. This proves him right. Now to the point where not even, just conservatives have to admit it or are admitting it, but they believe that, I think most of them believed it anyway. But now you have the liberal networks have to admit it. They have no choice but to come with the truth. So it's just, again, so you have this, you have the Russiagate incident, which proves that he was right when he said it was a witch hunt. And then now you have the case that is brought against him about his business dealings, which, again, I told you it would just make him look more like a martyr and people would have like more sympathy than resentment. And he seems to be polling okay. Boy, I tell you, don't be so desperate to take someone down that you come up with anything. Like, especially if it doesn't even stick.
Durham is coming was the slogan and the meme tweeted by Republican lawmakers and the president's family, hinting that Durham would lead to bombshell indictments of those who investigated Trump. Now, the bombshell indictments did not happen. Durham did get one minor court victory, 2 court losses. But President Trump appeared so confident of what Durham would find, he openly pressured the special counsel to release his findings before the 2020 election. Regardless, the report is now here. It has dropped, and it might not have produced everything of what some Republicans hoped for. It is, regardless, devastating to the FBI, and to a degree, it does exonerate Donald Trump. Let's bring in CNN senior justice correspondent Evan Perez. Evan.
Even Jake Tapper had to admit it. Had to admit it.
What exactly did Durham find in this report?
Well, Jake, the bottom line finding from John Durham's 4-year investigation is that the FBI moved very quickly to investigate these allegations of connections, of collusion between the Trump campaign and Russia, and that they did so by ignoring a lot of evidence that would have led them to drop that altogether. He's saying that they may have had reason to open a preliminary investigation, an assessment. Perhaps these are very, very low-level investigations. But certainly what he finds is that there wasn't enough there to support the FBI's decision to open a full-blown investigation of this of the Trump-Russia ties back in 2016. I'll tell you one part of what he writes here. He says that it seems highly likely that at a minimum, confirmation bias played a significant role in the FBI's acceptance of extraordinarily serious allegations derived from uncorroborated information that had not been subjected to the typical exacting analysis that the FBI usually uses. He goes on to say that the FBI discounted or willfully ignored material information that did not support the narrative of a...
Oh, I'm sorry. You mean to tell me that the FBI didn't follow protocol? I'm shocked. Whoops.
A collusive relationship between Trump and Russia. There was a lot of very sharp criticism here of the former FBI leadership, James Comey, Andy McCabe, who were running the FBI and who oversaw a lot of these, a lot of the steps that the report goes into, Jake. But as you pointed out, bottom line, there are no additional charges. Nobody is bringing charges against Comey or anybody else that the former president Trump kept saying he expected them to. There was a former Clinton campaign outside lawyer who was brought up on charges. He was acquitted. Again, in here, there's a footnote that points out there's no chargeable crimes against people in the Clinton campaign. Again, something that the former president said he expected this investigation to find, Jake.
So
I was actually pretty surprised by that they didn't find anything in reference to Hillary Clinton's camp, because I felt like they were very much, supportive of this. But the evidence is what the evidence is. So apparently Durham didn't find anything in reference to that.
it's very interesting. First of all, we should note that when President Biden took office, there were two special counsels, or one U.S. attorney and one special counsel, that he let continue doing their jobs. One was John Durham doing this case, and the other one was the U.S. attorney in Delaware investigating Hunter. So that is why this was allowed to proceed. A couple quotes here from Durham's report. One, based on the review of Crossfire Hurricane, that's the investigation into Trump and Russia, and related intelligence activities, we conclude that the Justice Department and FBI failed to uphold their important mission of strict fidelity to the law.
Surprise. Between this and the Twitter files, the FBI is not looking too good right now. Oh, and Malcolm X's family coming forward about their involvement in killing Malcolm X. They're not looking too good right now. Not having a good couple of months.
Connection with certain events and activities described in the report. And he says about, quote, regarding certain personnel intimately involved in the matter, there was a, quote, predisposition to open an investigation into Trump. He is basically saying, he's not, these are not criminal allegations, but he's saying that this was unprofessional and failed to meet the standards of the Justice Department and the FBI.
What standards? What standards? Justice Department, the same Justice Department that, arrested a group of Black socialists recently? What standards? There are none. They can just come after anyone and say, oh, I think you're like a Putin puppet. Lock him up. Anyone. It reminds me of if you read books or you watch documentaries about the McCarthy era, sometimes I feel like we're getting back towards that way where anyone that they thought may have been a communist, like was smeared, or that was J. Edgar Hoover, by the way. He was on a real witch hunt. But that's what it kind of reminds me of. So he's like, oh, there's standards. And I don't think, I look at Jake Tapper and I'm like, you can't believe the things that you're saying. Like, this can't be really how you feel. Like, I wonder if sometimes Jake Tapper just wants to say, I can't believe they actually have me pretend like I believe this shit. Like, there's no way. No way.
Jake, the stunning thing about this report is that we frankly know a lot of this. The Inspector General of the Justice Department did a 500-page report that came out in late 2019, and that one told us a lot of these findings that Durham is now confirming, frankly. One of the reasons why Durham was brought on board was supposedly to go beyond what the Inspector General of the Justice Department found in their investigation. And one of the things they were supposed to do was to tell us a lot about what the intelligence community was doing. It turns out they didn't find very much there in the intelligence community, and certainly not to support the suspicions that they had that there was a cabal of people from the FBI and the intelligence community who were out to get Donald Trump. That appears to have fallen flat as part of this investigation. And so, look, there's a lot in here that should make the FBI have to come back and answer some of the more questions, including some of the changes that they say they've made to make sure something like this never happens again.
But will they be held accountable? And that's the question I think some of you may have as well. Is the FBI going to be held accountable? Were they held accountable in reference to the information that was revealed in the Twitter files? Are they going to be held accountable? I don't think they are. It's like, make sure nothing like this happens again. And if it does, so what? If there's no accountability, it can easily happen again.
But the bottom line from what we see here at the end of a 4-year investigation, really there doesn't tell us a hell of a lot more than what we knew a couple of years ago when the Inspector General took a look at many of these things and came away with 17 very big troubling findings that they said the FBI needed to fix. Jake.
Yeah, so another thing, so Rachael
17.
Who is a spokeswoman, the communications director for Mark Warner, who is the chairman of the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence. She notes, and this is important context, that the Senate Intelligence Committee spent 3.5 years reviewing millions of documents and interviewing hundreds of witnesses. She writes this on Twitter, and concluded that the FBI had ample cause for concern in 2016. And she notes that the committee, the Senate Intelligence Committee at the time, was led by Republicans. She's referring to former North Carolina Senator Richard Burr. And again, both of these facts can be true at the same time. It is possible that the FBI had legitimate cause for concern, and is also possible that some individuals in the FBI got ahead over their skis and were not as professional as they should have been.
Right, exactly. And one of the things you come away from here in this report, and it was surprising to me,
not as professional as they should. When have they been professional about things? When has the FBI been professional about things? Were they professional when they killed Fred Hampton? What about Malcolm X? MLK? When have they been professional about the way they do business? You know, this is propaganda for your ass. Because this is CNN, this is Jake Tapper still trying to find a way to convince the American people that you should still trust the FBI. They just made a mistake. I don't see it as a mistake. I see it as deliberate. This isn't the first time they've screwed up.
To see him say it, because you remember in 2019, Durham came out with a very highly unusual statement in which he said he disagreed with a key finding of the Inspector General, which said that, you know, there was plenty of reason for the Justice Department, for the FBI to investigate the Trump campaign. He said he disagreed with that. In today's report, Durham says that he sees reason for the FBI to at least take a look at some of the initial tips that led to what became Crossfire Hurricane. He's saying that the FBI had reason to investigate, at least preliminarily. What he doesn't see is the reason for a full-blown investigation, according to this report. Jake, one of the things that stood out to me, if you remember, the former president kept saying that you know, he was going to find evidence of deep state spying. Well, there is a part here that talks about a confidential human source, essentially a spy, who was tasked with going to a Clinton campaign fundraiser. Again, let me repeat that. A Clinton campaign fundraiser, because the FBI had gotten some information that somebody was saying that perhaps the foreign government might be expecting some favors from a future Clinton presidency. So there you have it. The FBI was spying on the Clinton campaign, according to John Durham's report.
Has the
Well. And Jake Tapper doesn't comment with that at all. No comment to what he just said. Now, let's think about what he just told you, that the FBI actually had suspicion that there would be some type of arrangement there with the Clintons, with Hillary Clinton more so, and a foreign nation. Why would they have that suspicion? Why would they have that suspicion? And I questioned some of what they said about this report. Now, I haven't looked at the entire report. That's my bad. I'm a busy person over here. But who's to say that when Durham said in his report that he found, you know, no, I guess, involvement of the Clinton administration or her camp, who's to say he wasn't told to leave that out? Who's to say that he may not have been pressured as well? We don't know. We don't know. Again, one of the things we want to do more of on this show is not just take the information that you get and just say, okay, right, wrong, yes, no. Sometimes there's a middle, and sometimes two things can be true at the same time. And I think we need to look at things that way, especially with this report from Durham. We need to also think about, how do we know he wasn't compromised in some way, shape, or form? How do we know that he wasn't targeted? How do we know people didn't say things to him about what he could put in that report and what he could not put in that report? We don't know. This is the thing. We have to start thinking about the things we really don't know. And just because it's not reported doesn't mean it didn't happen. Just something to think about.
FBI responded at all to the Durham report?
They have. Christopher Wray, the FBI director, put out a statement just a little while ago saying that a lot of the changes that the FBI has made will make sure that things like this don't happen again. And, the FBI wants to point out, Jake, that, a lot of the leadership, a lot of the people who were involved in decisions that are in for some very sharp criticism in this report, they're gone.
Right.
That doesn't matter. I'm sorry. I just have to tell you the truth here. It doesn't matter if part of the FBI leadership that had those troubled findings in the report that were involved, it doesn't matter if those people were removed. The system at its core is corrupt. The agency at its core is corrupt. You can't cut a couple of branches off the tree and expect the tree to be fine. You have to pull up the tree from the root. And removing a couple of people in leadership positions does not change the system. And I've seen this multiple times, whether it's FBI, whether it's CIA, or whether it's just any other freaking employer out there. People honestly sit back and think that all you got to do is replace the leaders and everything else will just fall into place. How's that worked out for the US government? How many times do we have new elections and we have a different president? Has everything else fallen in place? No, it is not, because the system at its core is corrupt. You have to change that. Now, again, this is CNN pushing propaganda onto the people and having you believe that because they removed those leaders, you should put your trust and your faith back in the FBI because they're doing America's work. And I'm here to tell you that you shouldn't. I'm here to tell you that it's still corrupt. What, you think this is the only thing they've been caught with? No, this is just one incident that they were caught. This doesn't include all the other things that they've done that they were not caught for. And that's what we have to remember. Propaganda, CNN.
The FBI.
Right, and the current FBI director was appointed, as we note, by President Trump. Not that that has stopped him from criticizing Christopher Wray. Evan Perez, thank you so much. Let's bring in former.
It's really interesting the way that they want to give you that peace of mind at the end there. That's why they add that in. By the way, the leadership that was involved, they're gone now, just to give the American people some type of peace of mind. No, fuck your peace. I'm here to tell you, it has not changed. It has not changed, especially when you have people like Adam Schiff, who was a big part of Russiagate. How can we forget? So he announced this today. Breaking news. A MAGA Republican member of Congress just filed a motion to expel me from the U.S. House of Representatives. I stood up to Donald Trump and held extreme MAGA forces accountable. Now they want payback. They'll go after anyone who defends the rule of law. Or maybe they're coming after you because of Russiagate and because what was just released from the Durham report. Let's remember, Adam Schiff and Rachel Maddow, and even oh my God, what's that guy's name? Why can't I remember his name? Who's the guy on Majority Report? Sam. Oh my God, I really can't remember his name. Cedar. Okay, sorry. Woo. Okay, Adam Schiff, Rachel Maddow, and even Sam Cedar pushed Russiagate. They all fell in. I don't even want to say they fell for it. They just regurgitate what they're told to do. They go on camera, read a script. That's it. That's it. And Adam Schiff was one of them. And even the Twitter files revealed that Adam Schiff was out there telling people, executives at Twitter, what to remove and who to remove. Now you're a politician. So I got the Twitter files against you. And you were definitely wrong about Russiagate. Maybe you should be removed, Adam. And I'm not MAGA. And I'm not Republican, but you fucked up too many times. I'm sorry. Take you, Adam Schiff, George Santos, and Dianne Feinstein, all three of you can step down and go have a party somewhere. All three of you can go. But we have to remember how Rachel Maddow just really stuck her foot in this in reference to Russiagate. Really just stuck her foot in it. Let's have a couple of laughs. Let's revisit some old times.
Russia, Vladimir Putin, Russia hates Russia, Putin, Russia's Russia, Moscow, Russian, pro-Russian, the Russians, Moscow, Russia, Putin, Russia against us, Russians, Russia against the U.S., the Russians, Russian government scheme, the Russians, Vladimir Putin, Putin and Russia, Moscow, Russia, the Russians, Putin, Russia, the Soviet Empire, the second of the 20th century's great evils, communism, Russia, assault by Russia,
Putin despises the West in general and the United States in particular, the Soviet Empire. Russia. They're the adversary. They want to bring us down, the Soviet Union.
Russia.
Undermine the West, Soviet communists on the left.
Russia. That does it for us tonight. We will see you again tomorrow.
Smash that like button, guys. That helps me out with the algorithm. But it's pretty sick when you revisit it, right? Like, it's ridiculous. That's how much she talked about it. A mess. What a hot mess. But yes, this basically exonerates Donald Trump. And once again, it proves that he was correct that they were doing a witch hunt. And it's just one of those things. I don't even like Trump. Like, that's the thing. I don't even like Trump. But does that mean I have to make up lies about him because I dislike him? Like, they make Trump look better. They continue to make him look good by getting their facts wrong. And they're supposed to be journalists. Give me a break. Yikes. Let's go to some of the comments here. Ashura, will liberals accept it after years of Russiagating? I don't know. Colorado People News. Fun fact, current Colorado Governor Jared Polis originally co-chaired the Russiagate Clown Committee with Shifty Schiff. Oh boy, I didn't know that. Oh dear. Fizzy Pop Slippers. Hey, I'm going to be 50. All right. Well, early happy birthday, since I won't be here tomorrow night. Early happy birthday. Thank you for the super chat, Mary. MSMs suck at reporting truth until they have to. Yeah. Thanks for the super chat, ACAB. The DNC and Clinton's fined for funding the Steele dossier that started it all. Thank you for the super sticker, Denise. And thank you for the super chat, Anthony. Local NBC affiliate recruited for FBI 2 weeks ago. Bad cookies. Nobody blames you for blocking Sam Cedar from your mind, Sabby. That was so crazy. Like, all of a sudden, I couldn't remember his last name. What was happening? And JB says, what a rush. Yeah, man. Oh, man. That was brutal. Brutal. Okie doke. Let's get to our next story. Speaking of brutal, some of you may remember a little event called Force the Vote. And this idea is that you would push the squad to force the vote for Medicare for all by holding their vote or withholding their vote for Nancy Pelosi. As you all know, that did not happen. I don't have to go through that whole story again. We've talked about that, I think, at great length on the show. But now, Pramila Jayapal and Bernie Sanders have decided to reintroduce the Medicare for All bill. I want to play this clip from Pramila Jayapal, and then I'm going to tell you why I think this is going to be an issue. Let's get into it. So she posted this video. Brace yourself.
I'm Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal, and I'm so proud to be the lead sponsor of Medicare for All Act of 2023 in the House of Representatives. This is groundbreaking, transformative legislation. It would reinvent our healthcare system. No more premiums, copays, deductibles, or hidden fees. Mental health is included, long-term care, reproductive care, dental, vision, and hearing. All of these things are included. The comprehensive care that we all deserve, affirming that healthcare is a human right.
Every American has the right to healthcare, period. When you're sick, you should be able to go to the doctor. You shouldn't be worried about whether you can afford your medicine. And if you have a preventative test and find out that you have cancer or another illness that needs treatment, whether you can even afford the treatment. It's time, once and for all, guarantee all Americans that if they're sick, they can go to the doctor.
Hey, this is Congressman Maxwell Frost, proudly representing Florida's 10th Congressional District.
I'm Summer Lee, Congresswoman representing PA 12.
Congressman Jamie Raskin from Maryland's beautiful 8th District here.
I'm Congresswoman Sydney Kamala-Grudev. I represent California's 37th Congressional District.
I'm Congressman Jimmy Gomez, and I'm a proud supporter of Medicare for All.
I support Medicare for All. I always have, and I always will.
I'm for Medicare for All because I'm for medical care for all.
I am for Medicare for All because in the wealthiest nation on earth, no one should be without health care. And that's why I'm a proud co-sponsor of this bill.
We must pass Medicare for all to help and make sure everyone has good health.
I support Medicare for all because health care is a basic human right.
I support Medicare for all because in the United States of America, no one should go bankrupt from medical bills.
I support Medicare for All to build on the Affordable Care Act and finally guarantee affordable health coverage to everyone as a right, not a privilege.
I support Medicare for All because health care is a human right.
You know, it kind of feels like I'm watching like an infomercial or something. You know, kind of like, I don't know, like, I drink this vitamin water because it gets me pumped up every day. Without vitamin water, I'm just kind of sluggish. That's why I reach for this in the morning and another one in the afternoon. Vitamin water, the only way to go. That's what it kind of reminds me of. It's just, I don't know, infomercially.
I'm proud to support Medicare for All because I believe that healthcare is a human right and that we deserve to be healthy by virtue of being alive.
I have always supported Medicare for All because healthcare is a human right.
I support Medicare for All because no matter where you live, you deserve access to affordable health care.
I support and have pretty much all my life supported Medicare for All because health care is a human right.
100% support and endorse Medicare for All. No one should be without health care, and no one should be without health care that they can't afford.
I support Medicare for All because health care should be a right for everyone. We're the only industrialized nation that doesn't have universal health care. We can do better, and we do that by having Medicare for everyone.
I'm proud to support Medicare for All because people should have health care from the day they are born.
It's time
that was Rokan, man.
Every person, every American has the right and the ability to get quality health care.
I know it is so critically important to make sure that health care is a human right. No family, not one, should file bankruptcy because they fell ill or they can't afford their medical bills. It's time for Medicare for All.
Medicare for All would close coverage gaps that deny too many Americans the health care that they need.
When I was the chairman of the Rules Committee, we held the first ever hearing on Medicare for All, and it was extraordinary. Look, I believe that healthcare ought to be viewed as a fundamental human right for every single person in this country. And the only way to get there is through Medicare for All.
It's time for Medicare for All. Y'all know what that is? That's universal, free healthcare for everyone.
They've never backed away from supporting the best quality care that we can have for every American. Medicare for All.
I am so excited about this movement. We have more support than ever before to transition to a single-payer universal healthcare system that finally puts people over profits. Let's get this done.
That's a good question, Jonathan. Where is Clyburn? I don't know. Maybe they didn't have everyone in the video, but here's the problem. So who holds the House right now? The Republicans have the House, right? Okay. When the Democrats had the majority, why didn't they do this then? Last year, when Democrats held the House, why didn't they do this then? Why do they present it when Republicans hold the majority in the House? Someone explain this to me. How is this going to pass? And even if it passes in the House, it's damn sure not going to pass in the Senate. Now, here's the problem. The other problem. When we wanted them to force the vote for Medicare for all, withholding their vote for Nancy Pelosi, the pushback that we received is that it's not going to pass. Got it. Even though that wasn't the strategy was to get those politicians on record to see who's who, right? And then you have people primary challenge the politicians that voted against it, and you do the damn thing next time. Now, all of a sudden, it's okay to push this bill when it's not going to pass. Does someone make this make sense to me? Huh? You couldn't force the vote. They said, no, you guys, the stupid strategy. You cannot force the vote for Medicare for all because it's not going to pass. It's not going to pass right now, but they still pushing it. How does that make any sense? You didn't submit this. You didn't reintroduce the bill when the Democrats had the majority in the House. It's almost like they're doing this so that they can say, well, it didn't pass because of the Republicans. Maybe they didn't introduce it last year because they didn't want to have to say, sorry, it didn't pass because some of the Democrats. And that's the reality. When you have some of these politicians that take a lot of money from Big Pharma, a lot of money from Big Pharma. They don't want the American people to see that. They don't want Democrats to see that. They damn sure don't want progressives to see that. They want to make it seem like it's only the Republicans who are against it. And obviously that is not the case. Now, Bernie Sanders actually talked about this on his site as well. Bernie Sanders, U.S. Senator for Vermont. So it says Sanders introduces Medicare for all with 14 colleagues in the Senate. So that was May 12th, 2022. So I'm showing you this has been done more than once. You see what I'm saying? Look at this. May. This was in May. It says, in the midst of a pandemic that has claimed nearly 1 million American lives, more than 1/3 of which have been linked to a lack of health insurance, Senator Bernie Sanders and 14 of his colleagues in the Senate on Thursday introduced the Medicare for All Act of 2022 to guarantee health care in the U.S. as a fundamental human right for all. So just keep that in mind. That was Bernie Sanders reintroducing this bill once again. That was 2022. And he used the pandemic as like the push to get people to push it, right? To get it through. But now here we go again. So it's just, Pramila Jayapal knows. Like, look at what she says here. Today, we reintroduced Medicare for All in the House with a record of 112 original co-sponsors. Okay, you need more than that to win. You need more than 112 votes for it to pass. And then who is going to push it in the Senate? You think Joe Manchin is going to support Medicare for all? No. Is Kirsten Sinema going to support Medicare for all? No. So it dies in this, even if it gets by in the House, which I don't think it will, it dies in the Senate. Now, some people are going to push back on me and say, well, Sabrina, they're trying to do something. Give them credit. Give them slack. Okay. Sabrina also realizes it's election season. You know, where were all of those politicians in that video when we did the marches for Medicare for all in this country? When we had marches for Medicare for all in over 50 cities across the country, none of those politicians in that video showed up. Cori Bush was the only one. And from what I understand, she made it very clear to say she didn't like what we were doing. So if they cared that much about it, none of those politicians in that video showed up. Not one. Now it's election season and Joe Biden is struggling in the polls. And they know the majority of Democrats don't want Joe Biden to run again. Now would be a good time to show people we're really trying to fight for Medicare for all. Actions speak more than words to me. And when it came to the actions, they were absent. They were absent. So, as you can imagine, the comments. So here's Harvey K. I don't know if you guys have seen him before, but I've seen him on a couple of leftist channels before. Harvey K said, oh, I don't know why it's doing that. I was just trying to click on it. Maybe try that bill when you have a majority in both houses next time. Quiet part out loud. I mean, it's just, I think people kind of see through this, right? Right? So Robert Durden, got to give him props here. He's a part of Indie News Network. Robert Durden say, did you all notice that the squad started talking about Medicare for all again the instant they lost the House? Do you see the game they play? They refuse to force a vote on Medicare for all when they have leverage in Congress. Then they pretend to fight when that leverage and control is gone. 100% frauds. And he's right. This is what they do, this little song and dance. Let's try to fight for things when we don't have control of the House because we know it's not going to pass. And what kills me, I think, is for people really saying, listen, you know, you wanted them to push this. Now they're pushing it, Sabrina. But the reason why they said they wouldn't force the vote is because it would not pass. But they're willing to do it now, and they still know it's not going to pass. Listen, I was not born yesterday. I was not born yesterday. This is a joke. And I don't want to hear it. Like, do not come to me and just say you need to give them some type of credit. I'll give them credit when they do something that makes sense. It does not make sense now. You said no to this for force the vote because it wouldn't pass. Now you want to do it because it's election season and you still know it's not going to pass. No. Now, one of them, they said something in this video, and thank you so much for pointing this out, Simone. One of the politicians in the video said, I don't know this one. I don't know about building on the Affordable Care Act with Medicare for all. How does that work? One of the politicians in the video said, I look forward to building onto the Affordable Care Act with, what are you talking about? That one threw me too. Building onto, what do you mean building on? That sounds like access to healthcare. That doesn't sound like Medicare for all. I don't even know if she knows what she signed on to. Building on to the Affordable Care Act. That's the same thing Joe Biden said. Give more people access to health care by building on to the Affordable Care Act. That's the same thing Joe Biden said. What is happening here? The thing is this. Bernie Sanders told you a while back, and I covered this article. He had an interview a couple of months ago where he admitted Medicare for all is not going to pass. And even if it does pass, which I want it to pass, I want everyone to have healthcare in this country. I want to be very clear. But there's some things that we need to talk about. We need to talk about the fact that the Supreme Court can overturn it if we don't make private insurance illegal. That's a possibility. Bernie Sanders needs to tell people that. Pramila Jayapal needs to tell people that. And stop getting people's hopes up without giving them all the facts or the other possibilities that may happen. We need to talk about that. just a hot mess. Menudo said, of course, it's not going to pass, and this is just a big fraud. Both parties are nothing more than a complete fraud on the American people. Yeah, it's just like, what? And the people falling for this in the comments, it wasn't that many, but the people falling for it in the comments are like, yay, I really support you guys. Thank you guys so much. Thank them for what? For doing their job? What are you thanking them for? You don't have universal health care. I want us to get to a point in this country where we stop thanking politicians simply for doing their job. Start thanking them when they actually make some real progress and change in this country. It's just, it's a mess. This is a mess. And that's a slap in the face. And Bernie Sanders, come on, give me a break. I'm so proud to introduce this bill. Pramila Jayapal, I am so proud to do this with Bernie Sanders, and we are just going to make this happen. No, you're not. Stop lying to people. Like, you all should just be actors. All of you, go join Hollywood. For reals. Jeez Louise, they kill me with that. But Rob Durden hit the nail on the head. It's a game. It's a fucking game. And they should be ashamed of themselves. I think I've cussed too much tonight. Let me go to some of the comments in the chat. Thank you for the super chat. Sparky. Great work, Sabby. Thank you so much, Sparky. Thank you for the super chat. Wyoming gal. I'm not sure I support Medicare for all. The government doesn't need more power. I don't trust the government. Obamacare is awful. I feel trapped. So I will say Obamacare did not turn out the way that we thought it would be. Unfortunately, I do know people that made that switch. A couple friends of mine, they made the switch to Obamacare, and it was actually more expensive for them than what they had before. But the way I look at it, Wyoming girl, is the fact that if you look at countries like the UK, actually they have nationalized healthcare. So that's actually a step above Medicare for all. So they have healthcare for everybody there. I think the way to look at it is that if you already pay like the healthcare premiums that's coming out of your paycheck, you're already paying that, right? Medicare for all is actually cheaper than that. So you would actually be paying less. So that's kind of the way to look at it. And I interviewed a gentleman on the show about a year ago from Canada, and he explained to me how it works in Canada and how they were able to get it passed. So I think, I hear where you're coming from about trusting the government and things like that, but I feel like we need to give everyone healthcare in this country. Thank you for the super chat, Natalie. Optics, Sabby. The Democrats will inly bring a popular bill to the floor when they can blame its failure on the Republicans. That's funny. Thank you for that. JB says, Sabs, they're afraid of Medicare for all passing. I think so too, because again, like the number of politicians that take money from Big Pharma, and I'm not talking about Blue Cross donated $50. I'm talking like thousands of dollars. If you look at someone like Jim Clyburn, I still don't understand how he's a part of the Progressive Caucus because he takes some of the most money from Big Pharma than anyone else in the House. But he's progressive. I don't think so. I just don't trust these people, man. I don't trust politicians anymore. Like, they're all fake to me. I'll take that comment on Rockfin, Eric. Thank you for the tip on Rockfin, Roger. Hi, Congress members. My name is Roger Meadows, and I support citizen lawmaking and constitutional amending via direct democracy using CBIs to get single payer and all the other stuff we would like, because representative democracy is a failed experiment, and depending on who you MFers is a waste of time, as you are full of it. So maybe you can stop making my ears hurt and shut the up. I know I've cussed too many times on YouTube already tonight, so they're going to flag me at some point. New rules. Okay, let's get into our next story here. Speaking of not trusting politicians and corruption. If you have not heard this story, which is actually coming out of Massachusetts, U.S. attorney Rachael Rollins is in hot water. If you're not familiar with her, she actually gained headlines when she became district attorney here in Massachusetts. And the headline literally was first person of color to be the DA in Massachusetts. I'm not kidding. And I always tell you, you can't just go off of the identity. You know, you also have to say, well, what is this person going to do? And look at what they have done. And now we see what she was going to do. She is now resigning, and really it's not her choice. And this is because they have caught her in corruptions, as there is an ethics inquiry and investigation out on her. Rachael Rollins was chosen by Joe Biden. You got to hear this to believe it. Let's get into it. What a doozy.
Now to Massachusetts, where the U.S. District Attorney has just resigned from her post as she faces a federal ethics investigation. NBC's Ken Delanian has been following this for us. Ken, tell us about it.
Chris, this is one of the biggest scandals involving a U.S. attorney in recent memory. Department of Justice watchdogs today accused Massachusetts U.S. Attorney Rachael Rollins of serious misconduct, including violating federal law by lying under oath and using her office for political purposes. The DOJ's Inspector General said in a 155-page report that she used her position to try to help a candidate for district attorney by trying to plant a story that the Justice Department was or would be investigating the candidate's opponent for public corruption.
Here you have a U.S. attorney. This is a big deal. You have a U.S. attorney working hand in hand with media, trying to publish a story to corrupt an election, to hurt a candidate. You can't make this up. I told you a lot of times on this channel, what do we talk about? Corruption. Because more of it needs to be outed. U.S. attorney. She was a lawyer. Lawyer. Jesus.
IG said she then falsely testified about that episode under oath to federal investigators, acknowledging her role only after being confronted with text messages about it. The report also accuses her of violating ethics rules by accepting free tickets to a Boston Celtics game and by accepting political contributions after she was sworn in as U.S. attorney. And it says she disregarded ethics advice.
This part right here, like, how could you even go this low?
By accepting free tickets to a Boston Celtics game. And
free tickets to a Boston Celtics game. With that salary, with her salary, you couldn't pay for the Celtics tickets?
By accepting political contributions after she was sworn in as U.S. attorney. And it says she disregarded ethics advice when she attended a Democratic Party fundraiser in July featuring First Lady Jill Biden. Now, in a separate...
What was that? Democratic Party fundraiser featuring Jill Biden. Again, that is an ethics violation she was not supposed to do. Again, she is the U.S. attorney from Massachusetts.
Report, the DOJ's Office of Special Counsel concluded that Rollins violated the Hatch Act. That's the law that bars federal officials from participating in partisan politics. And that report said that her actions rank among the most flagrant violations of the Hatch Act the office has ever investigated. In a statement, her lawyer did not address the alleged misconduct, but said she would resign by Friday because she understands that her presence has become a distraction. Chris.
Okay, there is more that we need to get into in reference to Rachael. Like, these are common sense things. Like, and I'm sorry, like, she's a DA. She's been around for a while. Like, she knew better. She knew better. Here is the timeline of the allegations against Rachael Rollins. So it says allegations of ethics violation by U.S. Attorney Rachael Rollins. So here we go. This goes back to December 2021. The Senate confirmed Rachael Rollins as U.S. Attorney for Massachusetts, the first Black woman to, here we go again, the first Black woman to become the state's top federal law enforcement official. The contentious nomination required 2 tie-breaking votes from Vice President Kamala Harris. January 10th, 2022, Rollins was sworn in. She later had a formal swearing in ceremony in April 3rd. Here's the Celtics issue. So this is what I want to show you. Okay. All right. January 2022. Okay. December 2021, January 2022. She didn't even wait a year before she decided to be corrupt. Like, let's come on. Rollins and several youth attended a Celtics game at the center of more ethics violations, according to a report by the U.S. Office of Inspector General. The report states that Rollins solicited 30 free tickets from the Boston Celtics for local youth basketball players to attend the game. Again, she could have paid for this on her own. You see what I'm saying? You see the problem? Simone said not even 6 months. Not even. It's like, she didn't even try to make it look like she was legit. God, between her and George Santos, I don't know. Anywho, for local youth basketball players to attend the game, accepted 2 tickets for herself and used a subordinate employee to help coordinate the event, contrary to ethics advice. And then Rollins tweeted a photo from the event. Right. June 22nd to the 24th, Rollins traveled to California for an invitation-only summit, a trip paid for by a sports entertainment agency. The OIG found this to be a violation of federal travel rules. You think? July, when she was on it, Rollins attended a Democratic National Committee fundraiser to meet Jill Biden in Andover. Her attendance would later spark the 2 investigations in possible violations of the Hatch Act. The reports say the ethics advisor for Rollins' office had informed her that she could meet with Biden outside the event, but not go in. Rollins agreed to the plan, but instead, she spent about 20 minutes inside speaking with other attendees and taking photos. She actually is to blame for her own evidence. The evidence being used against her, she has no one to blame but herself. You post the photo on Twitter that you're at the game, and then you take pictures with you inside the event they told you not to go inside. I can't make this up. July 23rd. Rollins attended a social justice convention in New York City and accepted lodging reimbursement from a New York-based entertainment agency without seeking prior ethics approval or advice. The OIG found this to be a violation of federal travel rules. I mean, she was just on it. July 25th, this is still the same month, to September 11th, a report by the U.S. Office of Special Counsel details exchanges between Rollins and journalists at the Boston Globe and the Boston Herald, in which investigators say Rollins leaked non-public DOJ information about purported mismanagement of Suffolk DA's office by Kevin Hayden. Hayden became interim DA when Rollins left office and was running in an election to replace her permanently. The report also accuses Rollins of guiding city councilor Ricardo Arroyo in his campaign against Hayden. This woman was wild. August 31st. Oh my God. News reports said the OSC is investigating whether Rollins violated the Hatch Act when she appeared at that July fundraiser in Andover. November 7th, Rollins was under investigation by the Justice Department internal watchdog connected to the July Andover fundraiser with Jill Biden. And December 6th, the OIG report states Rollins falsely testified to investigators during an OIG interview under oath, saying that she was not the federal law enforcement source for a Boston Herald article about her recusal from a potential investigation of Hayden. When the interview continued on December 15th, Rollins testified that she did believe she was the source. She lied under oath. Let's go on. Oh my God, it's bad. April 28th, 2023, Rollins' attorney confirmed that she'd received a draft of the report from the OIG. May 16th, Rollins announced she is stepping down. And May 17th, the two reports on ethics investigations into Rollins were released. Rachael was on a roll. Like, how do you do that many times? It's just month after month after month. Like, she really felt like she could do what she wanted. I wonder why she would have that impression. So, of course, the Boston Globe, they had to report about this. Oh, yes, they did. They said the damage Rachael Rollins has done. The soon-to-be former U.S. attorney never fit the mold. You know, these little, they kill me with these little bylines. Your headline, your byline, they kill me with these little bylines. Like, how do you know she fit the mold or not? Like, it's just, oh my God. Deneen said first and last Black state attorney. Damn. Oh man. Oh God. I know I shouldn't be laughing at this. But this piece right here I wanted to read. As her tenure as Suffolk DA showed, Rollins is intensely political and combative. She bristles at being told what to do. Okay. And she won't hold her tongue just because decorum and somebody else's idea of ethics requires it. I wanted to tell you guys, but this is the part right here. I told you it was Biden. When she was nominated as U.S. attorney by the Biden administration, it was clear that the reformist and sensible approach to prosecuting crime that had made Rollins popular with voters in these parts would make her enemies among grandstanding Republicans like Arkansas Senator Tom Cotton. Yeah, that has nothing to do with her violating ethics, though. That has nothing to do with the ethics violations. I see what they're trying to do. They're trying to tell a story. I get it. But it talks about how the reports were released Wednesday. Eric actually was the one that sent me this article, and I was like, yikes, what is happening? And it goes on to talk about the Hatch Act. But I think the point that I want to bring up in reference to Rachael Rollins, she hasn't been there that long. Like, she hasn't been in this position a long time. It's not like she served as, U.S. attorney for like 5 years or 6 years or whatever. No, she just got there. She just got there. Like, that's the part. And it's just, I don't know. Like, I feel like this is a sense of embarrassment a little bit for Massachusetts, for us, because they really praised her. You know, when she became DA, they really praised her and her background and her work. And they said, first person of color. And they were all, for her. The media, local news, like, they loved her. Yeah. And now those same networks and media outlets like the Boston Globe, now they have to speak against her. I mean, that's part of the job of being a journalist. But man, not a good look. Not a good look. But she was being corrupt, right? So the very beginning of the article, the Boston Globe told you she didn't like being told what to do. And I think that could be part of the reason why she felt like, bump those ethic violations. I'm going to do what I want. And that didn't go too well. Did not go too well. But that's corruption. And it's sad, but it happens. And you got to call it out. I'm surprised they actually reprimanded her. Like, I'm actually surprised. Like, this is, I don't know. I do not know. But not a good week for Rachael. And not a good look, too, because the thing is, when they give you this title where they say you're the first person of color or you're the first Black woman to do this, then it's like, there are kids who look like you, who will look up to you because you are the first. So if you don't make it and you mess up, that can sometimes make those kids feel like they can't make it. That's the thing about being the first. People don't like to talk about that. But it's a reality of the situation. Red said she will never work in politics again. No, I don't think so. I don't think so. No. Yeah, Monarch said not a good look to people of women of color. Sabby, remember that time when Biden wanted 4 members of the LA City Council to resign due to some comment about somebody's Black son? Yeah, I just, no, man. Red says, I hope she gets good seats. Oh, that Celtics thing. Willem says, they all do this though, right? She was either sloppy or she ticked off someone bigger than her. I mean, she provided the evidence herself. Like that, like how can someone she's very smart. How can someone so intelligent just mess up with the common sense, man? Like, how do you mess up with the common sense? You don't put the evidence on social media. Oh my God. Danny says no hunter protection for her. Nope. Jill Biden's probably like, Rachael, who? Don't know her. Bad cookies. She sold out faster than you can say book deal. Thank you for the super chat, Sparky. Free Celtics tickets are a limited hangout to distract from the serious stuff. I could see that as well. Man, I don't know. Imagine if she tried to contact like Jill now. I'm like, Jill, can you vouch for me? Jill is probably like, you rang? I'm sorry, darling. I did not tell you to come inside. I'm being silly tonight. Okay, I have one more story for you guys. And okay, go ahead, Eric. Yeah. Thank you for the tip on Rockfin, Dave. I have inside. What? I have inside stuff on this Sabs if you want few nuggets in call in or whatever. Hold that info, Dave. I don't have call in tonight. I have early morning tomorrow. But hold that info for me, please. Okay. The number you dialed is not in service. There you go. Oh man. Oh boy. Okay, this story, another crazy shocker, and this is in reference to Ukraine. So shout out to Norm. Norm Finkelstein actually sent me this article, and he said you might want to cover this, and he was right. So a while back, we did discuss that some of the weapons that the U.S. was sending to Ukraine actually ended up in countries in Africa, right? And interesting considering Africa decided to remain neutral in reference to this conflict. But some of the weapons ended up there. I don't think that's an accident. I'm sorry. Call me a Debbie Downer. I just don't think that's an accident. I think that could be intentional, right? Get them to rise up against their own people in countries in Africa. Well, now it appears those weapons may have ended up in more dangerous hands. I want to bring up this article here. It says revealed Russian neo-Nazi leader obtained UK missiles in Ukraine. Missiles, not guns. Okay. Sergei acquired anti-tank launchers from Britain despite being accused of beheading a migrant when he led a neo-Nazi group in Russia. UK supplied weapons have reached a range of far-right forces in Ukraine, our investigation finds. This is coming from Phil Miller. So let's go on. Ay. This is bad. This is crazy shit. I'm gonna make it just a little bit. There we go. You guys, make sure you share this with people because I don't think a lot of people know about this. A neo-Nazi accused of murdering immigrants has filmed himself in possession of 5 anti-tank rockets that Britain supplied to Ukraine. An investigation by Declassified UK has found. So you see some of these other, like, even more dangerous weapons ending up in the hands of the wrong people. Sergei can be seen with UK-made missile launchers in 3 videos posted to his Telegram channel. Campaign Against Arms Trade said the discovery is very troubling. It adds to evidence that some weapons sent by Britain to Ukraine have ended up in the hands of extremist forces. This is what we were trying to warn people that could happen. Thank you for that soundbite there, Bryce. Lakers up by 5. Declassified recently uncovered another case where a jihadist convicted of torture had received UK missiles. Here's the pic. This is crazy and dangerous. So let's go on. The revelations do not justify Vladimir Putin's claim that his illegal invasion is denazifying Ukraine. The Kremlin has neo-Nazis among its own troops, and Ukraine's president Vladimir Zelensky is Jewish. But while Russian forces have rightly received significant scrutiny in the UK media, there has been scant coverage of who exactly in Ukraine is receiving Britain's multi-billion-pound arms package. On Monday, Rishi Sunak pledged hundreds more missiles and armed drones in a meeting with Zelensky at Shakir's. National Socialist Society. Declassified has been investigating Sergei, who is originally from Belarus. Now, remember when I told you about the new rules for the Boston Marathon here, that they banned athletes from Russia and Belarus. And it was very last minute. They sent that shit out like a week and a half before the race. So just keep that in mind. Around 20 years ago, he founded a Russian neo-Nazi group, the National Socialist Society. It spread fear in Moscow by targeting darker-skinned guest workers from the Caucasus and Central Asia. The group was banned, and its members convicted of dozens of racist murderers. Korthik is alleged to have killed 2 migrants in 2007, beheading one of its victims, Shamil Atamanov, on camera beneath a swastika flag. And this is the person who has received these weapons. Telling you, man. He denies the allegations, which featured in the multi-award-winning documentary Credit for Murder by Israeli director Vladi Antonovich. So Kortkik, I hope I'm saying his name correctly, was even reported to have links to Russian intelligence and police who may have recruited him as an agent shortly after the killings. He would not be charged with murder until 2021. By which time he had long since left the country. Listen to this. Defending Ukraine. His past in Russia did not stop him from being welcome to Ukraine. He moved there in 2014 when the country was split over its relationship with Moscow. He joined the Azov Battalion. Here we go. He joined the Azov Battalion, a neo-Nazi militia founded by Ukrainian far-right activist Andrei Beletsky to fight against pro-Russian separatists in the Donbass. Bolesky reported once said he wanted to lead the white races of the world in a final crusade against Semite-led subhumans. This is really crazy. He quickly acquired Ukrainian citizenship in a ceremony conducted by the then president Petro Poroshenko. Meanwhile, the Azov Battalion was integrated into Ukraine's National Guard. When Russia launched its full-scale invasion of Ukraine in February 2022, the majority of Azov serving soldiers were surrounded at their stronghold in Mariupol. Azov veterans in other cities rapidly formed new units, including elite sections within the Territorial Defense Force, TDF, in the capital, Kyiv, which Kortik joined. TDFs allowed reservists and volunteers to resist Russia and paramilitary-style groups normally under the control of Ukraine's military. On the day the invasion began, he said he had enough small arms, but would like to get something anti-tank and something heavy, and preferably a couple of dozen man-pads, that's portable surface to air missile launchers, so that their helicopters do not want to fly here. Anticipating the outbreak of the war, British ministers had hurriedly sent Ukraine thousands of NLAWs, a sophisticated anti-tank weapon. They cost around 20,000 pounds each and can even target aircraft. He initially had trouble finding them. He complained, "I have been running around the city since 9 a.m. in an attempt to get weapons, but they didn't arrive anywhere. They are none of the much vaunted British anti-tank systems at all. I can't find a trace of them. They are not here." But within 2 weeks of the invasion, some of these missiles were in his arsenal. On March 6, 2022, he posted a video of him traveling inside a van with 2 NLAWs at his feet. Here's a photo here. He wrote, "We have so many weapons that we are literally littered with shells and rockets. There is, of course, a special buzz when you literally ride the NLAW. On camera, he described having NLAWs as incomparable male pleasure. A few hours later, he posted a scene from the movie Hot Fuzz, where police find farm shed full of weapons. He commented, "In every house in Ukraine after every war," with a grinning emoji. He appears to have used a Kyiv sports club as his arms depot, posting a video the next day. The 2 NALWs propped up against the wall behind him. By the end of March, footage shows he had at least 5 of them stored in a gym. Throughout this time, he posted gruesome and racist messages on Telegram. In one, he shared a photo of a severed head in a crate, writing, "The Ukrainians, unlike the Russian command, are trying to return Putin soldiers to their families. It is not always possible to return the whole thing, but nevertheless." In another video addressed to Chechen troops deployed by Putin to invade Ukraine, he said, "We will play football with your heads when we cut them off." Boy, I tell you. Other posts, he was criticizing Russia for allegedly using Arab mercenaries from Syria and black cannon fodder from the Central African Republic. Kievan Rus against the Asian horde. The masks have been dropped. This only makes it easier for real white Europeans to fight. So this is why it kills me for the people who try to say there are no Nazis in Ukraine, or the people who try to say that, no, this isn't true. It's been documented. Let's go on. The Post confirmed that his hatred of Russian minorities has persisted, viewing the war in Ukraine as a battle for white supremacy. I hope everybody sees this. You see this? Viewing the war in Ukraine as a battle for white supremacy. I thought it was supposed to be about protecting the Ukrainian people, right? In other photos on Telegram, which has 55,000 subscribers, he can be seen wearing a black sun symbol originally from Nazi Germany on his body armor. See, these are the types of things where the people who are continuing to defend the US sending them billions of dollars, it's this type of message that I feel like they're either ignoring or they're making excuses for it. You know, anytime you tell someone, oh, it's only a little bit of Nazis there, mother, what? Or anytime you pretend like it doesn't exist, what? And some people are doing that. Some people are doing that. Not good enough. The NLAWs in his arsenal can be traced back to those supplied by Britain, and they list the reference numbers here. It says it matches codes printed on other crates that Ukrainian media said were delivered by the UK in February 2022. The only other country known to have supplied them to Ukraine was Luxembourg, which sent 100, a tiny fraction of the 5,000 shipped from Britain. So you can see there's the unit there. Well. Partially observed writing on the boxes are another reference code. So they mention those. That's how they can tell where they came from. And then here it says a Saab spokesperson said there is extensive export legislation in both Sweden and the UK which govern our activities and which we adhere to. We are not providing further comment on individual matters. And this piece here, even if you fully support exporting arms to Ukraine in light of the brutal Russian attack, there is also the need to acknowledge the risk involved. Arms ending up in the hands of criminals is one of them. The risk that arms will flow out of Ukraine to other armed conflicts or into criminal activities once that war stops is real and must be addressed. And that is very important because once this is all over, it's not like the weapons just disappear. Look at who's getting them. What are they going to do? EOK says everything is planned. It's almost like an all-out war that they want with others as well. And it says here, the UK government must set out clearly what it is doing to prevent diversion of weapons supplied to Ukraine, which will likely become a far greater problem for Ukraine and the rest of Europe when this horrific war eventually ends. And that being said, it continues here. I'm not going to read the entire article, but Eric, you can put the link in the chat for people to see it. It continues to say that Azov grows. Despite Putin claiming to denazify Ukraine, Azov-affiliated units have spread since his illegal invasion. But people aren't talking about that. Well, not everybody. Some people are talking about it. But this is a problem. This is a problem. I'm going to go to some of the comments, Eric. If you can find, Eric, remember that letter? You may not be able to find it. Let me see if I can find it in my Gmail. There was that letter that was sent, that was signed by Congress, where they said they were concerned about the growing presence of Nazis in Ukraine. Let me see if I can find it. It was, let me go under. Give me just a second. I know Roger Meadows has it because I sent it to Roger Meadows. I just don't know if Roger remembers where he put it, just like I don't remember where I put it. And that was like back in the day when I shared that. I don't remember what I did with that letter. That letter was just so. Oh well, I'll go to the comments. Anywho, JB says, watch them end up in Sudan. I'm telling you, it's almost like I told you about those bricks that were outside of the stores in Fayetteville, North Carolina, that were just put there like the night before the protest started the next day. They just were put there, egging people on. Teresa, like all wars, it's got to be evil and do evil. There you go. And thank you for the super chat, Roger. A little bit of Nazis, so why give them money for them to grow? This is the piece, like when the argument that people make is like, no, we will still send money to Ukraine. I'm like, are you ignoring what's happening? This is a problem. Big problem. All right, Eric, let's go to that poll. And then I'll see if I can pull up that letter. Okay, so here's that poll question. We have 513 votes. Will Pramila Jayapal's Medicare for All bill pass in the House? Well, 4% of you said yes. 80% said no. And 16% said not sure. Interesting. For the 4% of you that said yes, maybe you know something I don't know. Huh? Maybe. You found it. This is the letter, guys. This is the letter. This letter was written April 23rd, 2018. And this letter, you got to remember who signed this. Rokana signed this. See, Rokana right there. This is the part. Oh, Roger sent it. Thanks, Eric. Thanks, Roger. This is the part you need to see. I'm not going to read the whole thing. But this part right here. We write to express our dismay about recent reports of state-sponsored Holocaust distortion and denial taking place in Europe, particularly in Poland and Ukraine. These developments are unacceptable, especially given today's global surge of anti-Semitism. This part right here. We urge you to join us in human rights organizations in standing against anti-Semitism, xenophobia, and all forms of intolerance by calling for the Polish and Ukrainian governments to unequivocally reject Holocaust distortion and the honoring of Nazi collaborators to fully prosecute anti-Semitic crimes. I didn't write this letter. And yet our politicians will tell us, what are you talking about? There are no Nazis in Ukraine. This is why Google exists. You can find these things. So here we go. One more piece here that I want to mention. This piece about Ukraine. Ukraine's 2015 memory laws went even further by glorifying Nazi collaborators and making it a criminal offense to deny their heroism. Their heroism, guys. So this letter tells you that in Ukraine, they were considering these people to be heroes. But there's no Nazis in Ukraine. Let's move on. This piece here. However, unlike the Polish law, this move by the government in Kyiv has received little to no public response from the United States. The groups and individuals extolled by Ukraine include Nazi collaborators, Stepan Bandera, Roman Shehivik, and the Organization of Ukrainian Nationalists, as well as the Ukrainian Insurgent Army. So this letter, look at this, in particularly troubling that much of the Nazi glorification in Ukraine is government supported. I wish on Dropbox I could circle. Oh, there's a full screen option? Well, damn. Anywho, you see this? The Nazi glorification in Ukraine is government supported. But these same politicians will tell you there's no Nazis in Ukraine. Who signed this letter? It's long. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I read it on here before. I want to show you who signed it, though. Oh, looky there. Rokana, Just point out some of the people that you might know. Adam Smith, Mark Pocan, Jamie Raskin, Pramila Jayapal. Let's go on. There's more. Look, and all these people try to tell you they don't know. They're like, oh no, they don't have a Nazi problem in Ukraine. Ted Lieu and his whack ass. I'm sorry. Excuse me. He's just so lame. I really do not like Ted. He's so lame. Let's see. Sheila Jackson Lee. I told you. They all knew. Tulsi Gabbard signed it. At least Tulsi's still saying the same thing in reference to this. You see all the names. Look at all of them. All of them. Now, this letter was written April 23rd, 2018. And it was sent to John Sullivan, Deputy Secretary at that point in time. So, they knew all along. And they're all lying to you. Sorry. Okay, thanks. All right, let's go ahead and get that. Looks like we're getting a link to this document so you guys can see it. This is why Google exists. This is why Google exists. Eric, if you can copy the link, I think you're better off it because I can't copy it. But so thank you so much, Roger. Roger put the link to that letter. So Eric's going to copy that and put the link in the chat so that way you guys can read this on your own and share this with people because people need to see this. This is why Google exists. I'm telling you. Oh, no, there's no, especially Rokana. Oh, there's no problem with Nazis in Ukraine. And I support Joe Biden. And I think the president's doing a great job. Well. Thank you for the super chat, Seeking Freedom. Let us never forget, every Democrat politician supports this. Marianne Williamson supports this. Bernie Sanders supports this because they vote how they vote and stay silent. Bingo. Thank you for the super chat, Sparky. Zelensky's mother isn't Jewish, so he's not Jewish. To be born Jewish, mom must be Jewish. His dad is Jewish. Oh, propaganda claims he's Jewish to shield Ukrainian Nazis. I did not know that. I didn't realize that. So I guess then Lenny Kravitz technically can't say that he is either, right? I guess he wouldn't be able to say that he's half or technically half then because his mom wasn't, but his dad was. This is interesting, Sparky. I'm learning new things from you guys. Bryce says Jose confronted Jayapal about this too. I know Jose is everywhere. Kit, her outstanding work, Sabby Sabs. Hi, Kit. And Simone says they have amnesia now, right? All right, Eric, did you put that link for the article? Oh, you did. Okay. So Eric put the link there, you guys. Okay. So that's how you can access that letter. Okay. My South Park reference there. All right, guys, this is it for me. I'm off tomorrow, so you won't see me again until Sunday. So I'll just upload clips tomorrow or for tomorrow and for Saturday, and then I'll be back on Sunday. So yeah. So other than that, have a good weekend, and I'll see you guys on Sunday. And we're just gonna go ahead and head out. So have a good night. Keep up the fight.